My name is Luke Darnell, Pitmaster of Old Virginia Smoked Barbecue, and I'm here to tell you about my new online class available at barbecuechamps.com. This is a 100% tell-all competition barbecue class from yours truly, available online. It is a masterclass with 34 high-definition tell-all online competition barbecue videos that can be watched anytime, and they do not expire. They are packed full of pro tips, techniques, and recipes that will show you how to take your barbecue to the next level. These 34 barbecue cooking videos total 7 hours and will show you everything that you need to take your competition cooking to a level that you never thought was possible. We've already heard from several teams that have bought our classes and have already seen success and gotten their first calls. So this is something that brings me a lot of joy in sharing my knowledge and seeing people be successful with it. So are you ready to take your competition and backyard cooking to the next level? What are you waiting for? Just go ahead and go to barbecuechamps.com and find Luke Darnell, Old Virginia Smoke. We hope you learn a lot and enjoy these videos and have as much fun cooking these recipes as we had making them. Welcome to another edition of Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. My name is Luke Darnell, your host, and we are here with a really great friend of mine. I've known him since he's been cooking from his beginning, I believe. And I've got with me here Jon Wade from Optimus Swine. What's going on, brother?
What's up? Thanks for having me on the show, Luke.
Yeah, man. Happy holidays. How are you?
I'm great. We're getting ready for a family Christmas trip. So,
where are you guys going?
We're going to Disney.
Oh boy.
Yeah. With barbecue, you kind of try to fill in as many voids as possible, and so we're doing a family trip, and then on the way back, of course, we're going to stop in Unadilla, do the hog drop on New Year's, and then it's over.
Right. But you got to squeeze something in.
Something. Got it.
Now, you did hog drop last year, didn't you?
We did. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was our first time there, and it was post COVID. They hadn't had it during COVID, and getting it back up and running was kind of a struggle. And this year they've got like 30 teams, something like that. Last year I think we had 11.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And there you cook. What do you cook there?
Yeah, so it's the Georgia barbecue.
Yeah.
So pork loin, pork butt, and then ribs.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. So that'll be a fun cook. The pork loin has always been one that I've wanted to do just because I love cooking pork loin. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's pretty easy in terms of
and
barbecue meat.
It's not terribly expensive either,
Exactly.
You can practice, and like you said, it's delicious, and everybody can kind of find a place for it.
Yeah, and that's always what's usually, I think, fun and kind of what's missing from some of the contests where, I really have started to enjoy anything butts in different categories in turkey. I mean, turkey is like my white whale. I'm terrible at it. Because I always try and do something different with it.
Yeah, we do the same.
And it never works out. But and my wife, she's like, why do you keep signing up for this? I'm like, because it's fun to do something creative. It's fun to do something different, and I just enjoy it. So,
yeah, we love doing any of the turkey stuff because we go in there and we come up with something really great, and we end up eating it for dinner mostly. But we turn it in, and then we lose to sliced turkey, and we love it because we're like, hey, look, we just came up with a new menu item.
Right.
After Thanksgiving's over, and you've got 6 turkeys that you got to carve and figure out what to do with. This is what we're going to do.
I would love to see them get rid of the turkey sandwich as a turn-in.
Yeah, slider. We've always talked to I talked with Dave Dick about it. He's a really good poultry guy. It's kind of his thing. He always says, a really good slider, like a really, really, really good slider will beat a great slice. But a subpar slider will lose to, a great slice. And anybody can make a great slice of turkey. I mean, if they just cook turkey.
Right.
But if you put all this setup into it, and you take away the center of the plate quality from it, it becomes, you're fighting yourself, right?
It's like you're talking directly to me. Keep trying all this different shit. It's not going to work.
No, I'm talking to myself too. We've gotten into this bacon wrapped phase, and it was like, great, one contest. The next contest, it was like, bottom of the pack. We still do okay with turkey because we just really cook to a tenderness,
Yeah.
And we try not to mask the turkey, but we want something other than just a slice.
Absolutely.
That's the hardest part.
I agree with you. So, 9th in KCBS this year. That's pretty amazing.
Oh, man, it was wild. We definitely saw some ups and downs in that, too. And, it was an adventure. We fortunately, we were busy enough at home to where we were able to kind of step away from contests here and there. We weren't really chasing points, but we were chasing points.
Oh,
I think
sure.
I think if we tried to do something, I say irresponsible in other people's worlds, it's perfect for them, but in our world, it's irresponsible for us to do every week. I think we could do something like that again, but I think this year we had a lot of good luck.
Well, I mean, you still did 32 contests.
Yes.
Which is, that's a lot of contests. You got to go to the Jack, which is always a huge thing. And that's a great year, man. That is really it's a banner barbecue year. And
I agree.
And that's awesome. So one of the questions I always ask is, how has your career and life experiences outside of barbecue prepared you to be a pitmaster on the trail? But you're a barbecue every day.
Yeah, and obviously we're barbecue restaurant people. But when we got into barbecue competition, I think you were the first person that called, like, help me. I ran into you. But, I outside of the barbecue trail, my brother and I are barbecue restaurateurs. And we've just recently stepped into the retail world, and we're doing butcher, hand cut steaks and pork chops and handmade sausages. And that's kind of been our go-to on the day-to-day outside of chasing points and trying to meet friends up in a parking lot or some crazy campground in the dark, and it's our life.
Absolutely. And that's a lot of fun, but I mean, this one's kind of not fair because I know you, so I can dig a little bit deeper. Like, one of the things that, I think helps, and this is not fair because you're a student, so I'm assessing you as well as questioning you.
Yeah, well, that's great. Love it.
Is that I know that you are a musician and a percussionist, so right. I know the level of details because I wasn't a percussionist, but I was also a musician, and I know the level of detail and the level of consistency that you have to have in that. And has that translated to barbecue for you?
That's a great point. I don't know that I've ever really directly correlated the two, but I'm sure it's crossed my mind at a point where I'm like, this is like, this is just like in a band. It's the situations where you're packing up and you're exhausted, and that you gotta put this in the right spot, and you gotta do this correct, and you can't just throw it in there. But I mean, I was in a band where we showed up to a gig and we almost knew what we were going to play from the first note to the last note, and it was a 3+ hour show.
Right.
So when I come to a barbecue contest, I'm very regimented, and you're a good person to ask that question because I took your class, and it's also regimented, and it helped me like connect those two worlds where I was organized in this fashion, mm-hmm. and now I'm organized here too.
Right, absolutely. I mean, even probably, band comparisons are great too, but just drum corps stuff that I know that you used to do back in the day and stuff like, being precise and hitting your marks and making sure everything is where it needs to be. That's all super important.
Yeah, and I think, in another sense, it was everything I ever did performance wise was in a memorized show.
Hmm.
School band is totally different. College level bands, all those bands that I did where we were reading music, even onto the cruise ship, where you literally walk onto the boat and they hand you this binder that's like this fat, and they go, "See you on stage tonight," and we're wearing a tuxedo, and you're like, "Oh, okay." So you show up and you flip open the book and you're reading. The next thing you know, you're on page 306, and the boat's doing one of these numbers, and you're going this way and that way, and that's kind of like barbecue. You show up and um, the conditions are different, but the
Right.
only thing you can control is that book of music you got to memorize. It's not you're not reading off the page. You know what the hell you're going to do, and I think you've always compared it to showing up to a gunfight with knowing what kind of guns you got, and what your ammo is. I
Right.
don't think you use those direct words, but
Well,
in a sense,
it's I think, anymore 60% of a barbecue contest is before you even leave your house. Making sure you've got the right meat and making sure you've got the right tools to get the job done. I mean, we all have instances where we know we've taken crappy meat to a contest.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and
and
then you
and
scratch your head and you're like, how did I get a call? What the hell?
right, that sometimes happens. That's
Yeah.
that is true. So one of the things that always happens to us when we're out there is something happens and we become overwhelmed or unfocused. Uh, like, is that Alex?
Yeah, that's Alex. He's trying to get me unfocused right now.
What
What are you
up,
doing,
little
man?
A?
He's on the back porch doing smoked cheeseburgers for us. So
Of course he is, because that's
he's
what he
probably,
does.
yeah,
He's probably killing it.
yeah,
Right then, see, he made us lose focus and feel overwhelmed.
yep. Here
Uh,
we are.
when those things happen out on the at a contest, what do you do to bring yourself back?
Yeah. I think that I think one of the greatest things is when those happen at a contest. Because we are so regimented and we're so we're ready to do this procedure, and then all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden this unknown variable comes into play, and it's like, all right, now I'm cooking. you know i
Yeah,
went from I went from just rolling through the punches, or rolling through the routine, to now I'm taking punches, and how am I going to come out of this? And usually that leads to a false sense of security. Or insecurity, really. You're coming to the awards, you're just like, I am done. That was terrible. And sometimes it's some of the highest scoring you can get, and you're like, well, wait, what did I do? How do I replicate that kind of um, scenario? But I think I'm hyper focused at a contest. I mean, I'm so focused that I need something to make me unfocused so that I can kind of enjoy what I'm doing.
gotcha. That makes sense. I mean, being arguably, I would say, if not the best, but one of the best success stories recently of someone coming from backyard into pro. What advice would you give to backyarders who are about to make that jump? What should they be looking at and doing so that they can have the most success possible whenever they do make that jump?
I every guy that cooks and every girl that's out there cooking is doing something really right. And I think you kind of came up to me at one of my first contests. We were at Lenexa, Virginia, and I tell this story all the time. You're sick of hearing it, but like, you came, I pulled the Dumb and Dumber routine. Like, the lady brought me my check, and I was like, oh, actually, that guy over there, I'd never met you before. I was like, that guy over there is paying for it. And she brought you the check, and you came over and you were like, well, who the hell are you? And I was like, oh, hey, I didn't think that was actually going to happen. I know the server. I thought she was, aware that I was joking. But, we got to talking, and you said, what, what you do tomorrow. And when I told you I was nervous, and you were like, what you do tomorrow, just do what you do. just cook how you cook. And we cooked how we cooked, and we actually got a call, and it was like, oh man, we've got the bug now. We're big into it. But I think we cook the same way pretty much every day. I'm kind of getting myself lost in my thought here because that story is so fond of me. But we get to the point where we're just like cooking the same way every week, and you gotta have some kind of a procedure that you keep close to heart, but you're ready to change something. You can't have the same thing every single week. You really can't. You try it, you'll see it work a little bit here and there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the most thing that happened for us was when we came out of backyard and went into pro, we didn't change anything about what we did from the backyard program. We just focused on getting that pork and brisket dialed in. And we almost lost sight of the pork and rib. It became like harder to get a call in those two categories. And we got really focused in the pork and brisket. And I don't know. I think when you come in, if you listen to a lot of what people are saying and you ask the right questions, you'll get really far, in the master's program from backyard, because backyard is creating really good cooks.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they're good cooks. They're consistent as hell. And I think consistency is what kills it in this game. And something I learned from you is rest, getting some sleep. So it's hard to figure out how to get that sleep, coming from backyard. And now you're going to cook brisket. Some guys, I see them out there at 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, going to the bathroom. I see them up there lighting fires. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man? Take a class, take as many classes as possible. And the online stuff has become the killer. Like I was talking about with Dave Dick today. You take online classes and you immediately have access to the winning formula.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
and that's now the game. Where before it was, all right, we're going to go out and I'm going to do the same thing every week, and consistency is going to be how I win. Now it's, I'm going to use this trick and this place and against this guy, and you have all these variables, you kind of match it up, and it comes from as much online schooling as possible.
Mm-hmm. What advice should new cooks coming up ignore?
Oh, man. That's a really hard question, and a great question, because I was definitely hyped up on winning a contest.
Sure.
And I think that if anybody ever gave you the advice of, okay, you got to do this in order to win a contest, or you got to make sure you're doing this, you kind of want to scrap that and just focus on the things that you're not really confident in or you're not doing well in, and don't worry about winning a contest. That will happen. And especially if you concentrate on those things that are holding you back. Right,
because you're going to put a lot of undue pressure on yourself, which is going to end up being a negative more than a positive.
Yeah. You cloud your brain. Your emotions become a thing.
Yeah, sure.
And they shouldn't. Don't get. Definitely, the one thing that happens, I think, the most when the backyard comes into the pros is that they get really invested in that award ceremony. And I was that guy, and it wasn't like, oh, I only got 8th place. It was like, oh my God, am I going to get a call? Like, this guy's here and Luke's here and Childs is here and Urkel's here. And, am I going to get a call today? Like, don't worry about it. Get that scorecard and let it, if you agree with it, if it's true, then you have a confirmation. That's where you need to go. Right.
No, and that never changes. I still feel that way going to every awards. Like, I'm not going to get any calls. It's fun.
Yeah. You know what? You have to have that attitude.
That's right, or else you're just going to be miserable. It's...
Yeah.
And I still... Like, there's 2 contests where we didn't get to stay for awards, and I regret those. Because I think that's just one of the best parts. Not only getting your own awards, but cheering on your friends and stuff like that. That's what makes barbecue amazing. Let's switch gears here a little bit. I'm going to give you a little chance here to blow
Okay.
something up because I know you want to.
To do what?
What's one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've made in competition barbecue?
Mm. Well, I made a phone call uh, one day to you. I was going to try to make some kind of creative way of trying to allude to who it was, but yeah, I called you and I was like, Luke, I am, I am not, I'm not hitting a mark, and I need to get over this hump. Like I'm at this, I was cooking. All right. I was cooking on a pellet cooker. All right. And I just couldn't get past like a fifth place overall kind of thing. It was just, and then we were getting quite a few RGCs, but I just wanted something to breach that. And I knew it was in the flavor. I knew it was a depth. And I called you and I've had your food. I can compare it. I'm not eating everybody's food, but I've had yours. I can compare it to mine and I can tell you that there was a depth. And I said, man, I need to get into a stick burner. And you got me hooked up with Jay over at Outlaw. So I'd say number one, best investment, Outlaw stick burner.
I knew that was going to be your answer, but I wanted to give you the opportunity. No, Jay's great, man. I've turned a lot of people on to just stick burners in general. I don't think there's much difference between the two majors, Jambo or that. And I just love, because I wasn't there, and I made that change. So when people make that change, I think it's really cool that type of cooking has endured. Now, not to denigrate drum cooks at all, because that's what I love about barbecue, man. There's 1,000 different ways to do it.
Yep. Yeah. I always think about how Urkel that last season crushed it, and he was doing like what I call like a Blanche on the drum, and
Yeah.
then wrapping and moving over into a cabinet, and just GCing left and right, and just the ability to utilize your the cooking atmosphere that you have,
Right.
and,
Absolutely.
and to make badass food with it. Like that's just, I think that's the best part about the sport.
Cooking
I kind of want
atmosphere. I like that. Cooking atmosphere.
environment.
That's a great term. Cooking atmosphere. I'm going to use that.
There you go.
That might be the title of this podcast. Cooking
There we go.
atmosphere.
There we go.
This podcast is brought to you by BarbecueData.com. BarbecueData.com is your one-stop shop for all of your barbecue competition data. Historical data, calls, wins, placements, everything under one roof. It's a great way not only to track yourself in the standings, but also to track how you improve your scores from year to year. Listeners of this podcast can receive 20% off of a new subscription to BarbecueData.com with the code PITPOD. That's one word, all capital letters, PITPOD, PITPOD. So check your team scores, check on others, and do it all on BarbecueData.com. Well, Outlaws are expensive. Do you have any tools or anything that are under $100 or less that has really impacted your barbecue game?
Yeah. So there's a lot of them that have impacted our game, but I think like
You don't have to say
Cambro,
one, dude. People love this question.
yeah. So I think if you can, Cambros are not cheap. I don't know that they're like, I don't know that you could knock one out for $100, but I go with this styrofoam Cambro. It's like a smaller black styrofoam Cambro
Yeah.
that's made by Cambro, and we have a couple different sizes. And I actually have availed one to brisket, and one is my pork and rib cabinet, so I don't have this overlaying temperature cooking atmospheres. I don't have
Right.
these overlaying heat issues where I'm cooking the crap out of my brisket because I've got 20 pounds of pork steaming the hell out of it.
Right.
Cambro, I don't think falls under that $100 mark per se,
Mm-hmm.
but I think, we use a blender on the truck that knocked out a lot of my injection making process, where I was getting out this bowl and this whisk and cleaning out this bowl and doing all these, it's just like
Yeah.
silly, like a $35 Black & Decker blender or something like that is fantastic to have on the truck.
Oh, it knocks it out so fast.
Yeah, but I think the number one tool would be the Kin Cut, like plastic wrap or foil holder that
Uh-huh.
has like the hard plastic shell,
Oh yeah,
and it conserves all that plastic that you pay for in that foil. Like if it falls off and takes a ding, that
yeah.
wrap's done. I think that's the number one guy right there. The Kin Cut
That's
foil holder.
awesome. I'm glad you brought up blender.
Oh
I
man.
am just I couldn't I have a blender in my my scant setup that I take with me when I'm cooking on some, like I'm taking a blender just for injections. I'm not doing it any other way.
Yeah, I mean, I tried this thing and that thing, and I think eventually I got tired of trying things, and I heard enough guys hitting the blender, and I was like, I'm getting a blender, you know?
That's cool. That's cool. And I think that's I one of these days I'm going to do a whole episode of just those answers. Uh,
The
from
$100 tools, man, that's a
yeah,
valuable podcast.
I mean just from all 130 episodes, what that's just that's all the answers you're going to hear, and people are just going to be like, "Wow, what?
So
That's
yeah, you could
crazy."
rate them like how many times people repeated it. Like that's the number one. Like and now the number one, $100 or less.
So, do you use a lot of technology in your cook, or are you mostly
Yeah,
feel? Yeah, you do use some.
yeah. So Optimus Swine, we're big nerds for technology guys. We have at one point I had probably like 13 probes. I take off the dial off the face of my Outlaw. I called Jay. I said, "Is it okay if I take my Tell True thermometer off?" He goes, "Man, you're an outlaw, dude. You can do whatever the hell you want, you know." So we put 13 probe wires through that one little hole, and I would have one in each butt, one in each rib during those periods. And I'd have at one point I had 3 probes going into my brisket,
Mhm.
and that was ridiculous. But we've slimmed it down, and we changed our timeline so that I had less probe wires going through. I had things coming off, and I could
Yeah,
share probe wires in the pork process and rib process kind of thing.
probably
But
makes
yeah,
it a little easier. Yeah,
yeah, a lot of probes. You know, I have a headlamp. It's pretty sophisticated. But yeah, I mean, I think with technology during the cook, you can't get any further than that. And we use a bullseye um,
uh-huh.
from RecTech. So it's a direct cooker. Like it's basically a Weber 22 that you can plug in and set to your temperature. And so you don't have to have two-way cooking. You don't have to have zone cooking inside of a small. It's all, you know,
Right.
225 if you wanted 225, or you can crank it up to 750.
Hmm.
And we're using a lot of grill grate and things like that, which I don't know if falls into technology, but yeah,
Sure.
yeah, I
Oh,
love that stuff,
absolutely.
man. Gadgets are what makes this thing fun. Yeah,
I love good gadgets too, man.
yeah.
Um,
The butter
do you-
cutter.
the butter cutter. The butter cutter is
Ah,
amazing.
ah, yeah.
That I think this show, which through Darren Worth, has sold more butter cutters than any other piece of equipment, probably.
I give them out for Christmas presents because I see more value in it than just the barbecue thing. You know, to create a portion control
Oh yeah,
in when you're cooking, you know, baking and things like that. Like a portion control is crucial, and that thing,
it does it for you. Just
yeah,
bam, done.
yeah, yeah, cut.
What? Oh, do I want to ask these questions? Yeah, sure.
You can ask me anything, even if it's like,
I know when when you hear the word successful in terms of barbecue, who's the first person that comes to mind?
um, what what would dictate? I mean, there's a lot of things that dictate success. It's like who's your favorite drummer, right?
Absolutely right.
There's so many things that dictate it. I would have to say Darren Worth.
Yeah.
He owns an empire of barbecue restaurant and catering. He has his own personal pork sandwich station at the Royal. He's always referred to as the GOAT. And I've always just heard great things about him, and every time I meet him, he's genuine, he's great. There's so many people that I could
Right. It's a hard question to answer.
but I think, you know, today, I think it's Darren Worth. I think Brad Leninger is a phenom. He's like reinventing the wheel. But like if you look at it today, I think 2, 3, 5 years, who knows how far from now, it's going to be hard to beat what Brad Leninger's ever done. He's the Tom Brady of current situations.
Competition barbecue for sure.
Yeah, competition.
Yeah,
and then I just I think that Darren's his whole profile, his portfolio is amazing. I actually use his barbecue sauce, Smoky D's, here at the house. Whenever we're cooking anything with the family, everybody's into it. It's got a little bit of heat to it, and everybody's into that thing, And it's just weird how his barbecue sauce is here in Williamsburg, Virginia, and it's like our go-to.
Right. No, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. What was your biggest turning point as a competition pitmaster? We'll keep it in competition.
The biggest turning point for us was our first GC in backyard. We were at Galax. It was the last week to qualify for the World Invitational.
Yep.
And we had to pull a hat trick and ask somebody in the cooking world. It was the first time we'd ever reached out and said, "Hey, you're the ish at this particular meet. How do you help this scenario?" We'd never done anything like that, and just like how barbecue is, out came that information and more. It was like to the point of like, do you need like help? Do you need a cooker? What do you guys need? And that was the turning point. It was like, all right, are we going to shit or get off the pot? Right. I called somebody, I called in, not a ringer, but like somebody to tell me what I was doing wrong. And we fixed some stuff and it worked. And we were like, okay, this is how you cook.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. And there's always those light bulb moments, especially with competition barbecue, where you see something or taste something and you're like, like,
yes. Yeah.
And those moments are the ones that really push you forward as a cook, in my opinion. I know I've had several throughout my years of doing this, and it's just like, you feel it happen and you're like, oh my God, like, okay, that's going to change everything.
Yeah. Like, I can't wait to get home, go to the grocery store and practice this
and try
make
this,
my
right?
family eat it again, because this is going to be fun. This is a game changer.
Absolutely. I love that stuff too, man. It is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's get into it, because I know some of these. I want to ask this question. I've been waiting to ask it. Habits, rituals, routines, superstitions.
They're weird.
I know. They're amazing. Let's go.
So I have to brush my teeth outside of the trailer before we go to awards. It's just this thing, and it has spawned more great calls than not. I'll just say that. So yeah, if you see me outside my trailer, like I go to the front end of the trailer, we have this like spigot.
Yeah.
It's like a garden spigot. And I just feel like it's the most, post-mortem procedure I could do is just like clean my mouth out from everything I've just done to it, all the MSG and all the just nastiness that I've just done to myself. I clean it all out and I go to awards with a fresh feel. I think that's my weird ritual.
That's amazing. There's more.
Yeah, my brother likes to take a nap right before awards. It's his. He does a pre-award nap, and I'm usually outside scrubbing all the scent away.
Anything else? Any other ones? Any lucky trinkets in the trailer or anything like that?
Yeah, so we used to be like, yeah, this, bring that GC trophy from last week along. That thing's, good luck. And now we have we have removed all trophies from the trailer at all points. There's nothing that comes to a contest that indicates that at any point we had any success at all, ever.
I think that's important.
It's another fresh start, it's just like another toothbrush.
Yep, that competition's over. Time to go.
Yep.
Next one.
Clean it out, man.
That's fantastic.
Because sometimes those contests you'll have like a great call and you'll be like, man, that was the best brisket I've ever cooked in my life. Like, we're going to get a top 10 call on that brisket. That was so good. And then you go through the top 10 and you didn't get any call at all. And you're like, this contest has a dark place in my soul right now. And I've got next week, I need to be in a better place.
Right. You need to purge the demons.
Yes, that's right. Out.
You guys listen to music when you cook?
Yes. My brother hates my playlist. I listen to a lot of the same stuff every time.
Oh, yeah.
And it's throwback. A lot of throwback music. And then every now and again, like something that my kids listen to will pop up in the playlist. And we'll be forced to, listen to Frozen for a minute or something like that,
There's nothing wrong with Frozen at a barbecue contest.
Yeah. I've been having to flip off the Olivia Rodrigo lately. That's a little heavy. It comes on and it's like they add, like, it's by Amazon Music. So if you buy an album, it will, like, if you buy a vinyl, they'll also give you the album on your Amazon Music playlist. And all of a sudden, I'll have a whole damn album of something I do not want in the middle of my playlist.
You got to be careful.
I got to be better about my DJing skills. I'm not as good as some other people that play ABBA right before Alan wins the contest, playing that music that Alan requested. That was in Ashland this year.
Oh, yeah.
You remember you played ABBA all morning?
All morning long.
Because Alan from Radar, Alan Clem, he was livid that you had been playing hip hop all day.
Oh, I don't know that he was livid. He didn't enjoy it. He didn't enjoy it. I mean, maybe he was livid and he just didn't let me know. But
he was just like, "Hey, I got a request." He was nice about it. He was like, "Play like maybe some ABBA or something like that," and you were like, "Yeah,
done. Hit it all morning."
And then the son of a gun wins the contest. Like, he just like red carpet. You had his walk-in music and everything.
I love Radar. I love messing with Radar. He's amazing.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Man, I feel like we could talk forever.
Yeah, definitely.
Barbecue is awesome, and that's what brings people together. And I always say, like, we wouldn't have met so many great people without it, and that includes you, and.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Watching you grow and watching you do well has been awesome. It's been fantastic.
Well, I have to say that I really do appreciate all the help. You and there's been a lot of people in our region. That's what really blows my mind is, like, I'm talking about people that are the closest team to me regionally, geographically, are the same people that give me every tip, every trade secret, advice. I'm constantly getting advice. I'm a 41-year-old man, and I still get advice from guys all the time about how to make myself less of a slouch, and that's what I love about barbecue.
Absolutely.
That community.
This doesn't leave you off the hook for the rapid fire questions, which we're getting ready to do right now.
Fire away.
What do you see about barbecue on social media that upsets or bothers you?
I see people blaming judges for their scoring, and it just kind of bothers me. I don't think that any particular judge is responsible for it. I think the system is, in need of some correction.
Right on.
Is that do I need to rapidly answer these two?
No, not necessarily. Do you have a favorite pre, during, or post-competition meal?
So after competition, Mexican is a must. It's just kind of like I know where I can find all my MABA people after a contest. Mm-hmm. The nearest Mexican restaurant.
Right on. What is a favorite present that you like to give to people?
I really like leaving kale in people's personal belongings. We bring way more kale than we'll ever need for a double to a single. And so we'll find places to put that kale throughout the contest. It's my favorite gift.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah,
Mine is poop. Um,
I know that. That's why I knew
all
I
right.
couldn't take that one.
All right, last question. If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere getting a message on it to millions, what would it say and why?
It would say, just be nice. It's free.
It is free.
That would be all I would say. Um, and why? Because I think it's just become the norm to drop your trash off on people, and it's way harder to clean up the mess than if you just give somebody a compliment, even if it just completely removes the skin off your body and you have to pull it back off the ground and put it back on. Just do it, because it's an easier mess to clean up.
Right on. Right on. Well, tell people where can they find Jon Wade and Optimus Swine online? Or
So
in person. There's also in person. That's
yeah,
important.
we'd love to have you guys come to Two Drummers Smokehouse. It's our restaurant. It's in Toano, Virginia. It's it's a nice little roadhouse kind of vibe.
Incredible
And
food. Incredible
my
food.
brother and my brother is a world class chef, and he has taken that and create element and created another world of barbecue. And I run the pit with my buddy Mike. We were in a band together for like almost 20 years, and we still jam out in the pit. And you can find us there like every day. You also can find us at our butcher shop, which is
Hmm.
in Williamsburg, the next town over. Um, and those are both online. Two Drummers Smokehouse is the
Hmm.
restaurant, and then Two Drummers Butcher and Barbecue Provisions is our butcher shop. But that's Two Drummers Butchery .com. So
Right.
it's hard to
And
find all that stuff because it's all so similar in name. But yeah, we're nestled in Williamsburg. We've been here since we were born. The whole Two Drummers thing comes from, we were in Colonial Williamsburg Fife and Drum Corps, and it was an alma mater for us. You know, we didn't exactly finish the whole college level scholarship. You know, we didn't get scholarships. We didn't get all that stuff. So we were kind of like, paying for college, and eventually it became a job. We had to go to work, and we've been cooking ever since. So
right
it's
on.
it's a real passion. You can find us at our restaurant. You can find us at our butcher shop.
Right. And you have an online component starting.
Yeah. So starting today, we still have to upload some photographs, but there's we have a shipping system set up. We've got USPS and FedEx. But twodrummersbutchery.com, and I believe that's TWO, not the number two.
Hmm.
Twodrummersbutchery.com. We're trying to get up and running for the holidays, man. Got a couple
That's
bottles
awesome.
of Rusted Mustang we got to get rid of, and then we're ready for the next batch, dude.
Might want to check the dates on those.
Yeah, they're just for me.
Right on. I'm
Yeah,
sure they're
they're
still
still
good,
good.
but
I mean, I just
just
don't, it's the best. Like, it's a badass salad dressing. I don't know if you ever came across that, but just right on greens. It's some fantastic
I
salad
love
dressing.
it on that. I love it on lots of different things. It's a polarizing product.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, I mean, I think people get so confused when a competition guy comes out with a product. They go, oh, this is competition condiment, or this is competition barbecue sauce. When in reality, you've created a badass condiment for them to have in their home, man. And I'd
For
love to see you
not
bring that thing back.
right. For not competition. Right. That's
Right. Right. I
well
don't know if I made that clear, but yeah, I think it's a
yeah.
great at home condiment. We used it at the restaurant for a couple things. We'd mix it with, like a spicy
Oh
grain
wow.
mustard or something like that,
Yeah.
or even into like a mayo or something. It made a badass like mayonnaise, like a mustard mayonnaise,
Oh yeah.
Dijonnaise or whatever you want to call it. But yeah,
That's
I think
cool.
I think you should bring that sucker back, man. Keep the line going. We talked about the line rolling.
It's it might make an appearance here back in 2024. Some people have been asking about it, so there's one dude in Kansas City that loves it. He's bought all the bottles in Kansas City, and it's it's pretty funny. But cool, man. Well, hopefully people will reach out to you, and looking forward to see what you're doing in 2024.
Absolutely, man. Thanks for having me on the show, Luke.
Yes, sir. Thank you for listening to Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast. Be sure to subscribe and like the podcast, rate the podcast, and share it out with all your friends. Also, be sure to check out the Old Virginia Smoke YouTube channel as well. Tune in next week for another great episode of Pitmaster. For companies interested in advertising, please contact Old Virginia Smoke directly via www.oldvirginiasmoke.com. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is edited by Chris Sedanka. Pitmaster, an Old Virginia Smoke podcast, is a property of Old Virginia Smoke, LLC.